And I made a post about radio comms, and it had a lot of people asking if I would make a video of the setup that I'm using. People that are new, all the way up to other experienced hams. So here it is. I'm going to start with the bag. First off, yeah, my basement's a wreck. I've tried all kinds of bags. I went to military surplus stores, just got tons of different things that I've been trying, and this was actually one of those pop-up ads. And the pack itself was just this. I mollied this onto it. I think this was $25, this was $20, and so far this has been the best bag setup for the particular radio. I didn't want it to be any bigger than it needs to be, depending on what kind of gear, what your mission is, however you want to say it, the size of your radio. This is what I found that works for this. I don't have a scale, but I'm guessing it's probably maybe 10 pounds, something like that. So we'll start up here with the radio. So the radio is a anytone, and it is a UV588. Now, when I first started, this was my first big radio, I guess you can say. You know, obviously I started with the Baofeng. But the reason why I picked this, a lot of other hams will always say, stay with the big four, the Icon, the Kenwood, the Yaesu, all that other stuff. I picked anytone for a reason. Most of the fancy radios, not only do they cost a lot more, but they can only, they only operate in the ham bands where you're supposed to be. These radios will operate well under and well above the traditional ham bands, and that's usually where the emergency services, public works, police, fire, EMS, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to be able to hear them, and in case of a true emergency, I wanted to be able to contact them. So that is why I went with this particular radio. Has great views. I've had this thing for 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of different models that are out now that are above this one, but I still love this one. That being said, this is a 50-watt radio. It has two sides to it, so I can monitor 2 channels at one time, and I have separate controls. I can turn the volume up on one, turn the power up and down, everything. Real easy interface. I got this part of it upside down. This is just the relocation cable, like if you were going to mount this in a vehicle. So this is upside down so the fan can just draw fresh air. And then, you know, it's fused, of course, with the Anderson power connectors on it. So whether I put this to a battery, I have these connectors in my vehicle, a power supply, whatever, it's very easy to plug this thing in anywhere I need it to be. So that's the radio part of it. On this front pouch here, I have a lithium, it's the LiFePO 4 6 milliamp battery, and then I have, this is just the other side of the power connectors that connect to the battery, so I can connect that for whenever I'm using this. Now, why did I go with a 6? Obviously, you can get whatever size depending on how mobile you are. Instead of getting a 12, I thought it might be a better idea to have 2 6s, so I could be able to charge one when one is dead, or have a whole bunch of 6s, whatever. To me, that just seemed like a better idea than having one big battery. But depends on how mobile you are. If you don't really move around much, maybe one big battery works for you. I keep a compass in here. That's more for finding azimuths and stuff like that. And then I have a meter that tells me, I can put that in between the radio and the battery, and it just tells me how much life I have left in the battery and how much usage I've had, all that kind of stuff. So there's a little compartment here in the back, and that's where I keep this antenna at. This is a J-pull style roll-up antenna. It's called a N9 Tax, if you were to look this up. I absolutely love this antenna. You can put it on a string and throw it up inside of a tree, or use something like this. It's just a telescopic fiberglass pole. Really easy, just slides up. Put the end of that on there. stick it, on the side of my truck, or if I'm mobile, I can just hold it, whatever, depending on how long I'm going to be making my transmissions. The other style antenna, the beam style antenna that I was talking about, is this. This is an Arrow 2 antenna. I'm not going to put it together just to show you guys, but this is a Yagi style antenna. It looks a lot like the antennas that people used to use for their TVs on the tops of their houses. That just makes it more of a beam. It makes it more focused. That being said, I haven't really noticed. Obviously, it does receive and transmit better, but there's not a noticeable difference from that to this. And this is easy. I don't have to have the azimuth. I don't have to really point it, nothing. I can just throw this up in the air and it works. I think it's on like a 10-foot lead, plus the length of the antenna itself. So it's about 20 foot long. So I don't even use all of that 25-foot fiberglass pole. Other things that are absolutely crucial have, obviously there's repeaterbook.com, but if your phone doesn't work, if the internet doesn't work, if there's no power or whatever, get you a hard copy of that. Now, this all started because somebody was talking about trying to make a radio transmission to his wife that was 60 miles away. With this cheap Baofeng and just a regular whip antenna, I've gone 47 miles with this. Now, that depends on a lot of different things. Obviously, where you live, the kind of terrain. I was at a very high elevation talking to somebody else that was a very high elevation that had a very good setup. So, yeah, 47 miles was no big deal at all. But is this going to work for everybody? Depends on where you live. Probably not. Depending on where you live, you could probably get a lot better distance out of it if you have a lot of flat ground around you. So all of that matters, but having something like this that has a lot more power that I can turn up, and this is adjustable, so I can turn the power level up or down to save battery power if I need to. I did with this 6 amp battery, I did net control one night, and I was on the radio for about an hour and a half. I was on the full 50 watt power, and I went almost a full hour and a half before this battery died. And that was doing net control, so I was receiving and talking a lot. If you're just sending out a few transmissions or listening, obviously it's going to last a lot longer than that. You can get a bigger battery, all that different kind of stuff. And then having solar, some way to keep your batteries charged, topped off, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's not a very mobile setup. I want to get one of them fold-up ones. But if I'm taking my vehicle or something like that, I'll use solar. If not, I just take a bunch of batteries with me and I charge them whenever I get back, or whenever I get back to the truck where the solar is, I'll charge there. So just making a short video. I do teach radio classes, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. This one was just about the setup that I'm using, and it is pretty lightweight. I do a lot of hiking. I'll have a rucksack on, maybe even plate carrier, depending on what kind of training that we're doing. I'm also a firearms instructor, so yeah, I do all kinds of stuff that people would think is weird, but for me, it's a good time. So I'll put on the full battle rattle, and I don't want to carry a huge plastic box that has the radio stuff in it that you see a lot of traditional radio setups in. I wanted something a lot smaller. I can either try to get this inside of my rucksack or put it on the outside of my rucksack, or if I'm just being normal and hiking, I can just take this with me and it's got everything I need inside of it. So if you guys have questions, hit me up. I'll do my best to keep up with the questions. And then, yeah, since it's sitting right here, there's the HF setup. With HF, I can talk to the other side of the planet. I can talk to the guy down the street. I can send emails and pictures and everything with no infrastructure, all using digital. So no repeaters needed. I can talk to somebody hundreds of miles away or thousands of miles away and even send them pictures, full documents, everything. So you don't need cell phones and infrastructure to be able to communicate with your loved ones. Now, obviously, all this kind of stuff costs a lot more money, and it requires 2 licenses to use it. So There's a lot of practice. I've only been doing this for about 4 years, and I'm nonstop learning.